cracking those peanuts and spitting those seeds, because gloves are soon to be popping.
He makes a headlong dive and makes the catch.
And bats are going to get cracking.
Blast one! Deep right field! Gone!
Welcome to KNBR's Giants Warm-Up.
Way back there! Goodbye!
On the sports leader.
Matos, the possible tying run at third. Fitzgerald, the possible winning run at second. And the pitch on the way. Swing, line drive into right field, base hit. Charged by Robles. One run is in. Here comes Fitzgerald, the throw. Swing! And the ball game is over. Willie Adames, in his first opening day as a Giant, gets his third hit of the game, and he is the hero, knocking in the tying and winning runs with a single to right.
We are back. What's going on, folks? Kerry, Crowley hanging out with you this afternoon, getting you set for Giants baseball here on Giants Warm-Up, our special extended pregame show every weekend long. You can hear us on Saturdays and Sundays about 3 hours prior to first pitch, which is coming your way this evening at 6:05 p.m. as the veteran left-hander Robbie Ray takes the ball for Bob Melvin's club against his former team, the Seattle Mariners, who, of course, send the young right-hander Bryce Miller out to the mound at Oracle Park. And back at it along the shores of McCovey Cove following an instant classic on Friday afternoon. The 40,000 plus that were in attendance to watch the Giants 10-9 win in 11 innings were treated to an absolute thriller. Far different than what we saw 25 years ago, the home opener when Kevin Elster, the light-hitting Los Angeles Dodgers shortstop, bashed 3 home runs, and there were all sorts of concerns that the ballpark down at China Basin would play like a bandbox. Remember, I mean, it was crazy how the Giants lose that game 6-5 25 years ago. The reactions were, oh, they built this ballpark along the shores of McCovey Cove, and it wasn't even yet McCovey Cove at that time. It was just along the bay. It was this beautiful stadium, of course, and really the house that Barry Bonds built with the success that he delivered the Giants in the late 1990s, the re-energy of the team, Peter McGowan and the ownership group that saved the franchise from moving to Tampa Bay back in 1993. All their efforts were focused on getting that waterfront ballpark, on reinvigorating the neighborhood down there along the shores of McCovey Cove, and they were able to do so in 2000 when the ribbon was cut when they played the Los Angeles Dodgers, and Kevin Elster goes out and slugs 3 home runs on a home opener to forget. And yet a quarter century later, what memories have been made inside the ballpark down at China Basin, what memories have been made by the 3 World Series clubs, and what memories have already been made by this year's 6-1 Giants team that enters tonight's ballgame with an opportunity to win its 3rd consecutive series to open the season. The Giants took 2 of 3 from Cincinnati against the Reds, who they will welcome into Oracle Park later this week on Monday when the Reds are back in town. They sweep the Houston Astros with 3 straight wins in Houston. And then, of course, yesterday they win it 10-9 in 11 innings. The Giants exhausted their bullpen. Justin Verlander goes just 2 1/3 innings, giving up 3 runs. Randy Rodriguez once again coming in and playing the role of fireman. How good has he been this season? Lou Trevino gives up 2 runs on the big Jorge Polanco blast. Camilo Doval gives up 3, but all were unearned as the ball squirted under the glove of Tyler Fitzgerald. Then Eric Miller, Tyler Rogers, Ryan Walker combine to turn things over to Spencer Bivens, who goes 2 innings and earns his first win of the season. That win came courtesy of the Giants' $182 million man at shortstop. It wasn't a day to remember in the field for Willie Adames, but it was at the plate. How about Adames going 3 for 7 with a run scored, 3 runs batted in? He gave the Giants a late lead in the ball game. The Mariners ultimately come back, but he steps up. Bottom of the 11th inning, Giants down to their final out. They're trailing 9-8. They've got runners on second and third base. The Mariners have their outfield pulled in case that Adames floats one in front of an outfielder. He indeed does that in front of Victor Robles in right field. Robles looked like he would be in great position to throw out Tyler Fitzgerald, the potential game-winning run at home plate. But if you watch that play back for just a second, Victor Robles bobbles the ball in his glove for just a moment. He fires a strike to home plate, and yet the Giants were able to capitalize. Tyler Fitzgerald, their fastest base runner, of course, going on contact there. He takes off, he rounds third base, comes sliding into home plate, and delivers the Giants to a win that many of us will remember for a long, long time. Given the state of this Giants ball club, given that it was Buster Posey's first home opener as the president of baseball operations, a new role for Buster, but fans so far very much liking the product, and there's expected to be a lot of fans out at Oracle Park this evening as Robbie Ray takes them out, and it's Matt Chapman Gold Glove bobblehead night out of the ballpark. So a very exciting evening on the slate at Oracle Park. So I do want to continue to recap Friday's game because there was so much that happened. Obviously, we mentioned Justin Verlander going just 2 1/3 innings, but I'll kind of give you 5 key factors that enabled the Giants to come back in that ball game. And it starts with the work of the bullpen, which has been outstanding for the first few weeks. I say first few weeks, the first 8 days of this regular season. The Giants have played 7 games so far, with the off day, of course, coming on Thursday. But you see Verlander go 2 1/3, giving up 5 hits. He wasn't that sharp. 2 walks as well. He walked in a run, and Bob Melvin decides that's it. He turns to Randy Rodriguez, who comes in and settles down the Seattle Mariners, prevented the Mariners from doing more damage in the early innings. Lou Trevino comes on, and he gives up 2 runs. Camilo Doval gives up 3 more, but it was the back end of the Giants bullpen that was oh so good. Eric Miller, of course, giving up 2 hits and a walk in his frame, but nevertheless holding the Mariners scoreless to keep that ERA perfect on the season. Tyler Rogers gives up a hit, but again, gets some soft contact. The Giants get out of his frame in the 8th, and then Ryan Walker comes on in the 9th, and he throws a scoreless frame, picking up a strikeout. Spencer Bivens does give up a run in the 11th inning after throwing a scoreless 10th. He spiked a ball in front of catcher Sam Huff, who wasn't able to come up with it. Huff had just replaced Patrick Bailey in that ball game. And so you're thinking, okay, Giants have to make something happen in the 11th inning as the Mariners were no longer using Andres Munoz, their outstanding closer who threw a scoreless frame in the 10th, picking up 2 strikeouts, looked really good in doing that. They go to Vargas out of the bullpen, and the Giants are able to take advantage of Carlos Vargas. You look at the way that 11th inning unfolded for the San Francisco Giants, and of course, it all ends with Willy Adames becoming the hero for this team, but you have to remember that Tyler Fitzgerald drew that key 1-out walk that enabled the Giants to get 2 runners into scoring position. Lamont Wade Jr. strikes out, and so it all comes down to Willy Adames, and he delivers with the soft hit single out to right field, and it becomes a home opener to remember for this ball club. And I think that the bullpen is really one of the key reasons why the Giants won this ball game, but a few other reasons that I will just point to. You look at Adames, and he did not have a great day in the field. It's been kind of a slow first week for him. After 3 hits yesterday, he's still hitting just 200 on the season. The OPS still down at 509. Not exactly where he wants to be, but we were told by everyone in Milwaukee who'd known him with the Brewers that you put him in a clutch situation and this guy's going to come through for you more often than not. And even though it wasn't a day to write home about in the field, he did have the leaping catch to rob Julio Rodriguez of a single in that ball game. He comes up and there's the pitch off the outside corner that he gets from Vargas. And it's a pitch that he swung through a lot so far this season. It's kind of shades of Aaron Rowan back when he first signed his contract with the San Francisco Giants. You're throwing in the slider in the left-handed batter's box, and Adames is chasing it way too much right now, but nevertheless, he steps up and he makes contact, pokes one into right field. He does exactly what you need to do in that situation. So the Giants are able to tie the ball game, and Fitzgerald running on contact, never slows down around third base. Matt Williams with the aggressive send. You knew the Giants would need to be aggressive in that situation. You can't bank on hits in those extra inning situations. Adames gave them one, and Fitzgerald comes flying home, executes the perfect slide at the plate around catcher Cal Raleigh, and the Giants are able to win that ball game. And you see the celebration unfold over on the left side of the infield. Jung-Hoo Lee among the most fired up players, obviously Adames among the most fired up players, but this is a team that early on this season has found an identity that even if it's down early in a ball game, it can find a way to come back. It will continue to fight, and it will continue to do everything it can until the final out to win these ball games. You saw it on opening day in Cincinnati against the Reds with Ian Jabot on the hill. The Giants 1 out away from losing that ball game before Patrick Bailey pokes a single up the middle that ties the game. And then, of course, we all know what Wilmer Flores did for the Giants that afternoon in Cincinnati And then we saw it on Friday during the home opener against the Seattle Mariners. But Adames not the only reason the Giants were able to win this ball game. Another key factor for me is Lamont Wade Jr. wakes up. I think that Wade going 3 for 6, also drawing a walk, getting on base 4 times. This was kind of the classic Lamont Wade Jr. game that we didn't see during the road trip. He came off the bench in Wednesday's ball game against the Houston Astros and delivered an important insurance run with his first hit of the season for the Giants, and was really impressed by Wade coming off the bench on Wednesday afternoon, hitting that home run to get off the schneid. And so Wade, he comes up, 3 hits yesterday, 2 runs scored, the walk as well, working counts deep, and he was someone who I thought showed a lot of resilience. So it wasn't just the bullpen, it wasn't just Adames, it wasn't just Wade as well. I look at Elliot Ramos, who continued his incredibly hot start to the season with extra base hits throughout the road trip for the San Francisco Giants. That streak comes to an end, but Ramos does have 3 singles in Friday's ball game. He scores a run, he drives in a run, he also walked as well, so he was on base 4 times, and just becoming the most important player in this lineup early on in the season. Was hitting out of the 5th slot yesterday, playing left field, gets the average up to 323 through 7 games, and OPS up to 1.054, which is just incredible for a man coming off of the All-Star campaign that he did a season ago. I would give Adames and Wade and Ramos a ton of credit, but there's another player who also deserves some, and that's Patrick Bailey, who he's had a really tough go of it at the plate, not just so far this season, but also throughout his major league career. He's a defense-first player. The Giants love the glove that he brings to the ballpark. It's golden, of course, after last season, but he comes up with 3 hits yesterday, including a pair of doubles, and those were really timely for the Giants. He had 1 off of Castillo and then 1 off of Gregory Santos as well, the former Giants reliever, who ultimately prevented the Giants from winning that ball game in the 9th inning with some great work against San Francisco in that situation. So Gregory Santos, old friend, doing some tough damage against them out of the bullpen, but the Giants stayed resilient. And then I want to credit Tyler Fitzgerald, who has had perhaps the roughest start of any Giants player at the plate this season. A 190 average, a 499 OPS through the first week of this season. Fitzgerald had a really difficult spring training as well, striking out way too much, not making enough contact, didn't have a great day in the field either. Obviously, the situation with Camilo Doval on the mound, you never want to see that happen, where he's charging a ball, easy play in the infield. It should be made 100 times out of 100, and Fitzgerald lets that ball go under his glove into center field. The Mariners pick up a run, and just devastating for Doval on the mound, who got the right piece of contact at the right time out of the bullpen for the Giants. Fitzgerald, devastated by that opportunity that he let go by him. But when he comes up in the 11th inning with the chance, he's not trying to do too much at the plate, and he ultimately draws the walk. Thought that was really important for this ball club, and the fact that Fitzgerald was able to get into position to to get onto second base and then kind of deliver for the Giants in the situation that he did, where he was reading the ball off of Adames' bat. I know that there are 2 outs, and so you're running on contact, but it had to be a sharp turnaround third base. Matt Williams had to be aggressive with the send, and everything had to go right for the Giants to beat the throw of Victor Robles to home plate. They ultimately do, and they win it 10-9. A thriller out at Oracle Park, and a great way to start the season for this San Francisco Giants ball club. So they win it 10-9. They improve to 6-1, and they will turn things over to Robbie Ray this afternoon. Ray, of course, 5 perfect innings in his first outing against the Cincinnati Reds before things completely unraveled for him at Great American Ballpark. It's why his ERA coming into today's start is sitting above 5. But remember, it was just 1 start. He looked great in the early innings when he was out there in Cincinnati, and so the Giants hoping they can get a deep start out of him today, because they used just about every reliever out of their bullpen. The only man who was not called upon yesterday was Hayden Birdsong, so expect him to be available in relief this evening out at Oracle Park. As for the Mariners, it's the right-hander Bryce Miller. So fun to watch, can be very, very difficult. Last season, a 2.94 ERA at 25 years old, 31 starts, 180 in a third inning, so one of the most durable pitchers in the American League, former 4th-round draft pick in 2021 with a quick rise through the minor leagues. We'll talk more about Miller and more about Robbie Ray later on during this Giants pregame show. But up next, a conversation with my old friend Connor Grossman, former KNBR intern, former KNBR Giants beat reporter. He and I getting together this season, doing a Giants postcards podcast that we were working on. And so we'll play a snippet of that for you on the other side. Our impressions the first week of the season, our thoughts on small sample sizes, and what you can expect the Giants to carry over, what you can expect to kind of tail off, what shouldn't be the case over the course of the next few weeks, the next few months that you did see during the first week of the regular season. So your 6-1 San Francisco Giants back in action this evening out at Oracle Park, trying to win their third consecutive series to open the season. Robbie Ray throwing the first pitch, and we will be here for the next few hours here on KNBR. You're listening to KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.
KNBR, the sports leader. We're getting you in the mood mood for a crazy crab sandwich, some garlic fries, a cha-cha bowl, and some orange and black baseball? KNBR's Giants warm-up keeps rolling on the sports leader.
We are back here on Giants Warm-Up. Kerry Crowley getting you set for first pitch this evening between your 6-1 San Francisco Giants against the Seattle Mariners, coming off of a thrilling home opener at Oracle Park, maybe the best in the 25-year history of this ballpark. The Giants did such a sensational job celebrating on Friday afternoon, and they are right back at it for a 6:05 first pitch this evening. It's Matt Chapman Gold Glove bobblehead evening. The atmosphere should be electric tonight as well. But there's no topping what the Giants did on Friday after a 5-1 road trip where this team opened some eyes, surprised some teams around the rest of Major League Baseball with 2 wins in Cincinnati, and then, of course, the big sweep over the Houston Astros. They come home to Oracle Park, and I said this all week long. The Giants are going to have to learn how to win 3-2 and 4-3 and 1- and 2-run ball games at home this season. That's going to be the difference between going 500 at home at Oracle Park, which is what the Giants have really done over the last few years, and winning 50 games at home, really being a great team in their home ballpark. I think that Buster Posey, Zach Manassian designed this roster with winning at Oracle Park in mind. You have to play a certain style of baseball, and yesterday's game was nothing like the style of baseball that we expect to be played at home on the shores of McCovey Cove. It was a high-scoring game, 10-9 affair, but the Giants executed when they needed to. Willy Adames comes through, of course, defense a little shaky on Friday afternoon, to say the least, but he comes through at the plate, giving the Giants a lead early in the game with a double, and then of course, taking the Giants from their final out with a runner on third, runner on second. They're standing to lose that ball game late, and Adames comes up, strokes a pitch into right field. You see 2 runs come in, including Tyler Fitzgerald challenging Victor Robles, who was playing shallow in right field, got to Adames' ball on one hop, but Fitzgerald, the guy that the Giants needed on second base for that moment, he comes up, slides in, and everyone goes home happy after a scintillating home opener. Really a fantastic afternoon out at Oracle Park. Jealous of everyone who was out there for the home opener. I'll be out there in a few weeks. Can't wait to get back to the ballpark, and I think that there's certainly a lot of excitement around this Giants team right now, and so much of it well-deserved after the 6-1 start to the season. So speaking of the start to the season, I've teamed up with my friend, former KNBR intern, former KNBR Giants beat reporter Connor Grossman. We're going to bring you a little conversation over the course of the season. He and I are going to get together about once a week, and we'll play these episodes that we tape together for Giants Postcards, this great newsletter, on our Giants warm-up pregame show over the course of the season. We'll play a snippet from this week's episode here coming up in just a moment. We talk about the road trip, the start to the season, and expectations as well. First impressions of players in a Giants uniform, small sample size. What can you expect from the Giants that you've seen during the first week of the regular season that could carry over the course of the next 155 games that this ball club plays? A 6-1 start through 7 games. Exciting as always, and I don't think much will top yesterday's over the next 155 games, but this Giants team certainly has a lot of potential living up to it so far. So here's the conversation with Connor. We'll start with this. I think that this Giants team with Buster Posey has earned the benefit of the doubt in terms of fan expectation. They're a little bit more exciting than we initially anticipated, and I think that vibes are through the roof right now.
That's where I come back to. Like, I kind of look at, I have a lot of feelings about the Buster Posey hiring. At least I did at the time it happened. Less so now, but the more I think about it, the more I just kind of view him as the Giants, like, Chiefs vibe officer. Like, his hiring was not so much because he's got all this insight and experience in this position, because he doesn't. He was a great player. We don't know about him as an executive. But I think he was just brought in to shift the optics of the Giants, the vibe of the Giants, the culture of the Giants, all the intangible things. And just the word intangibles was totally antithetical to the Farhan Zaidi regime. And I think Farhan got a little worse of a rep than he deserved, but still, it didn't work out. Giants moved on, bring in Posey. And I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but yeah, the vibes are off the charts after a 21-win spring and a surprising and weird and wild first week of the season where it starts off game 1. You have this shocking comeback on opening day where, especially going into that 9th inning where they get runners on first and third, Elliot Ramos comes up. All they have to do is just hit a fly ball. We saw it so many times. Just hit a fly ball. Nope. Looks at strike 3 right there, and it was like immediately took me back to every agonizing moment from last season. And then Bailey comes up with the 2-out knock, sets up Wilmer to do his thing. And I'm pretty stunned. And it's only been 1 week, but I am remarkably surprised about just how competent and put together they seem compared to the team last year that was, win 3, lose 4, win 4, lose 4. And they weren't even ever 4 games above 500 like they are right now when we're talking.
It's so interesting that, like, you think of Buster as this person who is kind of a chief vibes officer right now for the San Francisco Giants, because as a player, he was the most prepared, detail-oriented person you could possibly imagine. He went into every game knowing every piece of information, and that's what made him a winner at the highest level. It wasn't that his physical tools were off the charts. It's that he maximized his physical tools while also being smarter than every guy out there on the diamond at a given moment. And as an executive, we don't really know like how he'll negotiate contracts and what he'll look for in trades and kind of how he's going to manage the bottom half of this 40-man roster where, you see an attractive player on the waiver wire, like maybe you say Sean Jelly, 10 years up, David Villar, we saw he was jettisoned off the 40-man roster at the end of spring training. But what he's clearly done is instilled a level of seriousness and competitiveness throughout the organization. And I think that was kind of manifested in the opening day roster. So they take Christian Koss on the opening day roster. They take a bullpen that has one left-hander, and presumably right now, like Eric Miller is going to throw 95 games, and that's not going to happen. But that's kind of the way that you look at the opening day roster, and it's fascinating to me. Like, you go in without a backup first baseman because Gerard Encarnacion is on the injured list, and so Casey Schmidt just becomes that guy because he was one of the 26 best players in Scottsdale. And it's no longer about like, how does this player fit? It's about who performed and who's actually really competitive and showing up on a day-to-day basis and giving you the best chance to win as a team. And it's a little bit different. And I like both approaches. I think there's room for both approaches at the major league level. Certain teams have won with matchup-oriented rosters. The Dodgers certainly have had a matchup-oriented roster over the last decade or so.
I mean, the Giants did it. It was the 2021 Masterclass.
It was the most matchup-proof team you could ever imagine. And yet this team is like insanely poorly oriented to matchups, and they're 5-1.
Right. It's just like, make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. I mean, when I think about what I'm wondering after this first week of the season, going into the season, I mean, the offense, I was a little like, are they going to score enough runs? I mean, there's questions all over, like there are for any team, but the Giants offense specifically, I was like, I'm not so sure they're always going to be able to score enough runs. Are they going to strike out a ton? And guess what? They kind of have. They've had 2 games. They struck out 16 times, 17 times, somehow won both of those. The one game they lost, struck out once. Again, make it make sense. It doesn't make sense.
And that was the game that Justin Verlander pitched and also threw really well for the most part. Like, that was a game that theoretically over the course of 162, you probably win 70% of those games. And that was the one they lost. Whereas somehow they mash Framber Valdez and they beat the Reds on opening day in a situation that made no sense. They win the Landon Roop game that like they probably didn't have business winning when you've already won the series and you're starting like a bunch of weird guys in the lineup that day because it's kind of a getaway day. So you go with Sam Huff instead of Patrick Bailey behind the plate. And
Casey Schmidt at first base.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter. Come out and score 5 against Framber Valdez and hey, series swept, easy win, forget about it. So you would like to avoid using Tyler Rogers for a 4th time in 6 games. That's the one thing that I'll say about that 6th game of the series.
Has there ever been a reliever you think that pitched over 100 games? And is it going to be Tyler Rogers?
Oh my gosh.
I don't even know how it happened. Honestly, I don't. I don't know if his like sidearm delivery just like is less taxing on his arm so he can keep like going out there. But the Giants have as big of a bullpen seemingly as like any other team. And yet over the past few years, it's every other day is Tyler Rogers' day.
It's amazing. I think Jim Brower appeared in like 87 games for the 2004 San Francisco Giants. It was a disgusting
that is a
amount.
deep cut.
Well, it was also Felipe Alou. I don't know how in tune you were with the Giants during the Felipe Alou era, but not only did Jim Brower appear in like 87 games, he warmed up for 23 others. Alou would get guys warm and then have them sit down. It was like the worst bullpen practice you could ever imagine. And yet his first year as Giants manager, they won 100 games. So I mean, huge Felipe fan here, but I just could not imagine a modern pitcher ever being told, go get loose 100 times in a season.
Welcome to Giants Postcards, Jim Brower talk. Exactly what you signed up for.
We're what, 9 minutes in? We've got Jim Brower.
Obviously, we're making a lot out of just a week's worth of games. And let's push a little bit further into that. We're in small sample size season. We're in the thick of it. Give me one small sample size from this first week of the season that you believe in, that you think there's a little kernel of truth there that's going to spread out over the course of the next 6 months.
I think that Elliot Ramos will be much better against right-handers this season, and we saw that through the first week of the season. Is he going to have an extra base hit every game? No. But he was below league average against righties last year, and he was Aaron Judge against lefties, and that added up to, in his opportunities, an all-star caliber season. I think that evens out this year, and you're going to get maybe not an all-star level campaign, but close to it, and 30 home runs is well within reason for a guy of his power.
Whoa. 30 home runs.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're wearing San Francisco on the front of your chest, you're not hitting 30 home runs. We've established that.
That's a good point. I mean, I was there the day that Brandon Belt was sitting on 29 and had his hand ripped apart by a Colorado Rockies reliever at Coors Field. There's a curse around it.
Shouldn't have been bunting.
Exactly. There's a curse around it. But I do think that Ramos having a 730, 740, 750 OPS against right-handers and kind of establishing himself as the full-time everyday guy with no question marks at all, that's going to happen this year. So that's one that I do believe in, is like the success you've seen against righties, that will carry over for the next few months. What about you?
Well, just to go on Ramos for a beat, I feel like when we talk about the regime change from, Farhan to Posey, I think a guy like Ramos is a perfect example of, I would imagine, I'm just guessing here, I would think he feels free and loose and that this is my job. They're going to leave me alone. I'm coming out here every day. There's no matchup business. There's no, well, hey, you got a short lease because that bus to Sacramento is leaving tomorrow. I think they're just going to I think he's just going to have the runway to play. I mean, which is what he got last year, and he did it all the way to the All-Star game. But I think that's got to be so refreshing for a guy like him.
There's a world in which Elliot Ramos goes down to Scottsdale this year. Let's say Farhan's still in charge. He goes down to Scottsdale. He's not very good against right-handed pitchers. Grant McCrae's on the opening day roster, and Grant McCrae's in the outfield because they want to start him against right-handed pitchers, or at least they want that opportunity to have him late in games against right-handed pitchers. And I just think that's like bad roster management. You have to let this guy figure it out because the potential is incredible. And so the fact that Buster and Zach and Bob are letting him do that, and they've reaped the rewards of it through the first week of the season, it's great. I think that is development at the major league level in a very player-forward and healthy way to go about it.
Yeah. I also think it's also the byproduct a little bit of just kind of being unburdened by expectations. Like Posey knowing he has the security that, okay, if worse comes to worse and they lose 90 games this year, he's coming back. I don't know about Melvin, but at least Posey's coming back. So I feel like he can act with, a steady stride and a level of confidence that Farhan definitely didn't have last year and probably not for the last couple years. Yeah. My small sample size that I believe in, Jordan Hicks. I really think I really want it to work, and I think it will work until it doesn't. I do think his arm is probably going to give out again in September, but maybe it lasts.
September's optimistic.
Okay, fair.
I was thinking June, but that's nice.
Right, exactly. I mean, so much of what I read about the Giants going into the year is that Hicks is a ticking time bomb, so why even waste him being in the rotation? Just have him be a great bullpen arm, late inning reliever. I get it. But it's also kind of awesome to watch his early season starts. And it was last year, and he's only made one start up to the point we're talking right now. But he just looks electric. He just looks like the kind of arm that, at least growing up as a kid, baseball was a different game back then. If a guy could throw 100 miles an hour, it was like, I can't look away from the TV. So, I mean, Hicks is not an anomaly in that sense, but I think it can work, and I think it will work longer this season than it did last season. And like, I just want to believe that over the course of this 4-year contract he signed with the Giants, like I think he could prove the doubters wrong. And I'm not basing it off anything other than hope and enjoying the fact that like he looks really good at the start of the season. And yeah, fatigue's going to be a factor. I believe it, but maybe just a little bit less than it was last year.
Yeah, I read all the reports and he looks good. He looks, like he put on weight, and I think that's important. I still think he gives out in June. Like there's going to be something to where I don't know. I just don't believe that you go from 6 years in the bullpen throwing one inning at a time to the next, 2 years later throwing 140 innings for a team out of the rotation. I loved it. I will also say this about Jordan Hicks. I think no pitcher benefits more from having Patrick Bailey as their catcher than Jordan Hicks, because when you're throwing 100, like guys like Sam Huff are not going to frame that pitch. Like they're not going to frame up you throwing cross body 100 miles an hour when you're supposed to hit the inside corner and you hit the outside corner instead. Patrick Bailey can frame that up. His skills in turning Jordan Hicks borderline pitches into true strikes against the Houston Astros. You watch that second inning, every pitch looked like it was on or just off the corner, and Patrick Bailey presents them all as strikes, and I am scared for the automatic ball strike system for Jordan Hicks one day.
No, I mean, it's a great point. Bailey is definitely a lifesaver in this pre-automatic ball strike system. Yeah. And I just think it's going to work. It's a small prediction baked into a small sample size that I believe in, and it's only been one start, and it was a decent start. Small sample size you don't believe in, and I think you could point to a lot of different directions in a week that's gone surprisingly well for the Giants.
Small sample size I don't believe in. There's a way to get creative here. Like the bullpen's not going to be perfect like it was on this trip for so much of it. Wilmer Flores isn't going to hit 45 homers this season. I think we all know that.
Are you sure?
I've got a decent feeling in year 13 that he's not going to turn into I
mean, Ramos was a step too far, but Wilmer, I mean, he's on pace for well beyond 30. So anyway, go ahead.
I think the small sample size that I don't believe in is there's no way to say this without just kind of changing the question a little bit, but sure. I don't think that the Astros are going to be very good this year. So I don't know how much stock I put in sweeping the Houston Astros. I think everyone gets really excited when you sweep a team early in the season, and deservedly so. Houston's got some great talent in their lineup, but Yordan Alvarez was lost at the plate. I mean, the guy was swinging at pitches that Pablo Sandoval wouldn't have chased. And Jose Altuve in left field gifted the Giants a run. The Astros are kind of a mess. And is Valdez going to look that bad every time out? No, but I think that might be like an 81-win team, and that sweep may look far less impressive in a few weeks after the Giants face reality in New York against the Yankees and then Philadelphia against the Phillies.
It's a great point. It's almost like a college sports lens over a major league series where it's like, that win we had in week 2 against Florida State, well, they haven't won a game and we're here in week 10. So like, how much does it really mean? It's a good point. Still, it's kind of funny. They swept one road series last year, and it took them 1 week into this season to do it. So again, you're kind of like, make it make sense. What is this team actually going to be? We don't know yet.
That road series also against the Kansas City Royals team that was really good, and the Giants were kind of thrown out like Landon Roop started that series. They had him starting in months.
I'm sensing a common denominator between the two road series. Right? There
you go.
Was that right at the end of the year?
It was mid-September. It was probably 20th to 22nd, something in that range. But
I remember they played the Royals and Orioles, I think, like back-to-back, like 2 AL playoff contenders. And the Giants...
Classic interleague state last week of the season.
Right, and the Giants had just been wallowing for weeks. And then all of a sudden, like, this new team shows up rejuvenated against these guys. And it was like, whoa. So just, I don't know, make it make sense. They already swept a road team 1 week into the season. They only did it once last year. The small sample size I don't believe in that I wrote down, like the lowest hanging fruit is Wilmer. Like when the season started, I really didn't know what he was doing on the roster. Like, you could come up with a reason like he's on the roster, but I think I wouldn't blame any fan if they were like, this guy's still here? Like, really? And I think it speaks to a little lack of depth at first base, and DH being a revolving door, especially since they traded Jorge Soler. And it's like, okay, fine, Wilmer's here. And then he hits the 3-run jack on opening day, and he's hit 3 since. And I think he probably only has like 5 hits this year, and 4 of them have left the yard. Like, great. Like, what a week. Are we not going to be saying in June, like, wow, remember when Wilmer hit 4 of his now 6 home runs in the first week of the season? Like, it seems inevitable.
72 games last season, 4 homers for Wilmer Flores. 6 games this season, 4 homers for Wilmer Flores. How about this? Year 6 of Wilmer Flores' tenure in San Francisco. Is that not
that is, yeah.
On player development and roster management? Like, it's great to watch Wilmer Flores. He's a total vibes guy, but he's gotten probably twice as many at-bats in a Giants uniform than anyone ever would have projected. Like 2021, Giants missed their first-round pick, Will Bednar. 2022, it's Reggie Crawford, and he's not going to see the field until 26 at the earliest. Like, we are looking at just a really bad run of position player draft picks for the Giants.
Where's Chris Shaw?
2015 Boston College slugger Chris Shaw.
He was supposed to be the first baseman of the future, right? What's Wilmer still doing
at one
here?
Point, yeah. They took Shaw in the same first round that they took Phil Bickford. So
wow.
Speaking of forever Giants, Phil Bickford. Yeah. It's
a great point about Wilmer, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I love watching the guy. His highs are incredibly high, but the fact that it's year 6 of Wilmer Flores is almost like last year was year 7 of Austin Slater, and Giants fans were like, okay, we can't, like, Austin Slater is nice of a guy as there is, but you can't keep watching Austin Slater for 7 years.
Right. And you can't even rule out Wilmer going into a similar tailspin that Slater did last year that resulted in him getting off the roster. Like, not wishing this upon Wilmer, but if the guy was DFA'd by the end of July, like, I wouldn't be sitting here shocked.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock anyone.
No.
I mean, he's in year 13.
Right.
He's been a major leaguer forever.
That would make this first week of the season even more magical if it ends, prematurely with the DFA. Yeah. Another thing I don't believe in, and it's not a specific player, it's just so much of the Giants, 1 week robust success is that they're getting hits with runners in scoring position. They're batting
the only time they're getting hits.
Yeah, they're batting like 300. You're right, exactly. As a team, they're hitting like 200, but with runners in scoring position, they're hitting 300. Last year, they were just so miserable in those situations. They hit like 230. They were like 3rd to last in the league in those situations. Like, you just figured if they could even be like 10% better in those situations, like, that's a few more wins, a couple, 2 or 3. And when you have 3 wild card teams and you're never really going to finish that far out of the race, like, that could make the difference in not only making or missing the playoffs, but even just like being in the race in the last week of the season. So the only thing I struggle with as a fan is, like, I don't know if you look at when a team struggles with runners in scoring position, do you look at coaching? Do you look at players? We talk about these ambiguous things like approach and, like, I don't know. I'm not a major league hitter, but, like, when you're up in a spot that you need to hit a fly ball, hit a freaking fly ball. I know it's easier said than done, but, like, I just don't get it. I don't even know what to criticize other than the outcome. The outcome is not what it should be, but for this first week, it has been. And I don't really know what to say other than, is it dumb luck?
No, this is the Buster Posey effect. Like, this is truly the Buster Posey effect, because I never subscribe to the hitting is contagious theory that you're told when you're like 9 years old and you start little league, and then one guy gets a hit, everyone's going to get a hit. At some point, like, you run into a good pitcher. Hitting's not contagious, and momentum doesn't happen for you at the plate. But on this road trip, it kind of was. I don't think you flipped that over for 162, but like, against Ian Jabot, hitting was contagious, and Ian Jabot probably won't last a month on the Reds roster this year, but
fun name
worked. Though. Great name. And the Giants have to be glad that Alexis Diaz opened on the 15-day IL, because that series looks completely different, and the next series looks different if Alexis Diaz is healthy as well. So, I chalk that up to Pat Burrell more than anything. I talked to him on KNBR a couple times during the offseason. He's like, we have to change our approach with runners in scoring position. I think it is so mental at this point that last year guys never believed they were going to get a hit. This time it might be an overwhelming amount of confidence. Like, look, base is empty. I don't need to do anything. Guy on second, my whole life is on the line. My career depends on this opportunity, and I think the Giants view it that way right now.
Yeah, well, if they went up feeling hopeless last year with runners in scoring position, then that permeated all the way through the TV, man, because you could just feel it. You just feel tight as a fan, and if I'm feeling tight watching, can't imagine how that guy is feeling standing in the batter's box.
Imagine Brett Wisely in the batter's box, second and third, one out.
Hey, man, Wisely was great last year, and when I was thinking of guys not on the roster and a guy like Wilmer being on the roster, I was kind of like, where's Brett Wisely? Like, he had a pretty good spring, too.
You might have been the only fan I know saying, where's Brett Wisely?
He had some good moments last year.
All right, he is Connor Grossman. I am Kerry Crowley. Connor writes the great Giants Postcards newsletter. You can subscribe to that on Substack. We'll be getting together throughout the course of the regular season. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify. You can also listen in to Giants Warm-Up. Over the course of the next few months, we'll be playing some snippets from our episodes breaking down San Francisco Giants baseball. So appreciate Connor, who was out at the ballpark on opening day, where the Giants won it 10-9, a thrilling home opener for this ball club, and an opportunity for the Giants this evening against the Seattle Mariners to win their third consecutive series to open the season. Took two in Cincinnati, of course, swept the Houston Astros, and after the 10-9 thriller on Friday afternoon in extras at Oracle Park, the Giants going for the series win with Robbie Ray on the hill tonight, and then it's Jordan Hicks tomorrow, so a lot of excitement. When we come back, we will open up the phone lines, taking your calls. 415-808-KNBR is the number. We will give you the lineup that manager Bob Melvin has put forth for this evening's ball game, and we'll also talk about some of the pitching options that the Giants have tonight behind Robbie Ray, because they exhausted their bullpen. Hayden Birdsong, if he comes back, would be coming back on a little bit of short rest from Wednesday's outing when he pitched in relief of Landon Root, but he only threw 26 pitches, so the Giants can have him come back on shorter rest than you typically would for a starting pitcher. Remember, Birdsong not a member of this five-man rotation, so you could see him out of the bullpen this evening behind Robbie Ray. The Giants have a few different options, but it's an exhausted group, and it's a group that's worked really hard to open the season. It's also a group that's been really good for the most part to open the season. The Giants win 10-9 on Friday. What do they have in store this evening? Dial us up. 415-808-KNBR is the number. I am Kerry Crowley. This is Giants Warm-Up. Giants baseball coming your way. First pitch at 6:05 this evening right here on The Sports Leader.
While Bob Melvin preps the men in orange and black, we'll prep you for today's ball game as our Giants warm-up continues on the Sports Leader.
Bases loaded, 2 down. Tie game, 3-2 is hit to center field and deep. Going back, Jung-Hoo Lee. He will make the catch in front of the wall. Wow. He took a strange route to that one. It was hit so hard, but Jung-Hoo Lee, great concentration, made the play out in one of the deepest parts of the ballpark right in front of the Mariners bullpen, stayed with it, and made the play. The Mariners threatened, but they do not score.
Gosh, so many moments that will go down as significant from Friday's instant classic of a home opener, but Jung-Hoo Lee's catch in center field to rob Crowley, not to be forgotten for the San Francisco Giants. 6-1, back in action this evening against the Seattle Mariners. Bob Melvin has put out his lineup. Here it is for you Giants fans on your way into Oracle Park late this afternoon. Lamont Wade Jr. leads things off. He's over at first base following a 3-hit performance in yesterday's ballgame. Willie Adames, the walk-off hero, playing shortstop again and batting second. It's Jung-Hoo Lee out in center field. He's hitting third today for the Giants. The bobblehead man, it's Matt Chapman bobblehead tonight. He gets the start over at third base and in the cleanup spot. Elliot Ramos in left field batting fifth. Mike Yastrzemski out in right field hitting sixth tonight. Wilmer Flores, the designated hitter for the Giants. He bats seventh. Pretty good lineup when Wilmer Flores is hitting seventh. Sam Huff doing the catching in place of Patrick Bailey this evening. He'll hit eighth against Bryce Miller. And then it's Tyler Fitzgerald in the 9 slot in the order. Fitzgerald still looking to get going after scoring the winning run in Friday's ball game. The second baseman for your Giants. For the Seattle Mariners, here's how things are lined up. It's Victor Robles out in right field this evening. Julio Rodriguez, the star center fielder, he'll hit second. Cal Raleigh, the designated hitter this evening. Switch hitter batting third. Randy Arozarena, the left fielder and the cleanup man for the Mariners. The catcher tonight, Mitch Garver, gets the call for Seattle. Old friend Donovan Solano over at first base tonight for the Seattle Mariners. In the 6th slot in the order, Dylan Moore over at third base. He mans the hot corner hitting seventh. It's Ryan Bliss out at second base this evening, and he'll hit eighth. And then the shortstop, J.P. Crawford in the 9 slot in the order. Crawford, just a 136 average, 457 OPS to start this young season. It's Robbie Ray for the Giants. Left-hander, 4 strikeouts in his first outing against the against the Cincinnati Reds. He takes on his old team, the Seattle Mariners, this evening, and Bryce Miller going for Seattle. We will get into the pitching matchup and much more about these lineups on the other side. We will also take your phone calls. 415-808-KNBR is the number. You're on your way into the ballgame. What do you want to see tonight from the San Francisco Giants? What can they build upon from this 6-1 start? Your calls on the other side. I'm Kerry Crowley. This is Giants Warm-Up on KNBR, the sports leader.
It's almost time for hot dogs, peanuts, cold beers, and orange and black baseball. Our Giants warm-up rolls on the sports leader.
Matos, the possible tying run at third. Fitzgerald, the possible winning run at second. And the pitch on the way. Swing, line drive into right field, base hit. Charged by Robles. One run is in. Here comes Fitzgerald to throw. Swing! And the ball game is over. Willie Adames, in his first opening day as a Giant, gets his third hit of the game, and he is the hero, knocking in the tying and winning runs with a single to right.
The Giants' $182 million man, the hero for the home opener. A great way to kick off the 2025 campaign at Oracle Park for Buster Posey, the president of baseball operations, and of course, for the man who surpassed him for the record-setting contract in San Francisco, Willie Adames. That 7-year, $182 million deal. The Giants signed him because he comes up clutch in important moments, and he did so on Friday afternoon in the 11th inning. Drilling a ball out into right field. Victor Robles came up with it, just couldn't quite get a grip immediately, and Tyler Fitzgerald, aggressive all the way from second base, using that amazing speed to come home and score the game-winning run. 415-808-KNBR is the number. Would love to hear from you during today's Giants warm-up. First pitch just about 2 hours away from now as the Giants take on the Seattle Mariners this evening. It's Robbie Ray, the left-hander, against Bryce Miller, the right-hander for the Mariners. Ray pitching against his old team, the Mariners, who traded him last offseason to the San Francisco Giants in early January in a deal that sent Mitch Haniger and Anthony DeSclafani up to Seattle. The Giants have won that deal by virtue of Ray being the only player still left on either roster right now. The Mariners quickly turned around and traded DeSclafani, who struggled with his health, not able to get back to his form in the major leagues. He went on to be a part of the Minnesota Twins organization, has since struggled to catch on anywhere, and then Mitch Haniger was released at the end of spring training this year after a subpar season last year with the Seattle Mariners. Went from Seattle to signing in San Francisco on the 3-year, $43 million deal, and then back to Seattle. And so Robbie Ray, the only remaining piece as part of that deal, left with the organization that traded for him. Let's take a quick spin around Major League Baseball, look at some of the scores, and provide some commentary on some of the games that happened around the league this afternoon. The Baltimore Orioles won at 8-1 over the Kansas City Royals. Sagano gets the win for Baltimore. Michael Wacha takes the loss for Kansas City. It's been a slow start for Baltimore's offense, but the Orioles did pound out 12 hits today, so they improved to 4-5 on the season. The Royals, meanwhile, my pick in the AL Central, they're just 3-5 right now. The AL Central, not very good. The NL Central, not good at all. So wide open races all season long in those divisions are the expectation from yours truly. The New York Yankees bashed some balls out of PNC Park today. Aaron Judge went deep yet again. 10-4 win for the Yankees over the Pittsburgh Pirates. It was Mark Leiter Jr. picking up the win. Bailey Falter taking the loss for the Pirates. The Phillies won last night behind an outstanding start from Jesus Luzardo against the Los Angeles Dodgers, handing LA its first loss of the season, but the Dodgers get revenge this afternoon out at Citizens Bank Park, improving to 9-1 on the season. It was Anthony Banda who claimed the win, his third win of the season out of the bullpen for Los Angeles. Aaron Nola takes the loss, a tough loss for Aaron Nola today, who drops to 0-2 on the season with a 6.35 ERA. Tanner Scott, who signed that big 4-year, $72 million contract to pitch out of the Los Angeles bullpen, he gets his third save of the season. The Washington Nationals help out the San Francisco Giants today. Although help out, we probably shouldn't be using that term this early in the season. The Giants, of course, want every National League West team to lose every single day, but not realistic for that to happen over the course of 162, particularly with the talent in this division. Nevertheless, the Nationals pick up their second win of the year, take it 4-3 over the Arizona Diamondbacks. Eduardo Rodriguez takes the loss for Arizona in that one. Kyle Finnegan gets the save for the Nationals. In last night's ballgame, Corbin Carroll, the superstar outfielder for Arizona, went deep twice. Another National League team to lose earlier this afternoon, the San Diego Padres go down 7-1 out at Wrigley Field. Can we say forever Giant when it comes to Matthew Boyd? He was the winning pitcher for the Chicago Cubs today. Boyd, of course, was on the Giants roster at one point during the Farhan Zaidi era. They signed him when he was injured, and then they traded him, I believe, in a deal to either the Detroit Tigers or the Cleveland Guardians. But he never never ultimately made an appearance for the San Francisco Giants, despite the fact that this organization paid him and put him on the 60-day injured list at one point. Nick Pivetta gets the win, takes the loss for the Padres in today's ballgame. Pivetta 1-1 now with a 2.70 ERA. Minnesota Twins beat the Houston Astros 6-1. If you heard me in that last segment with Connor Grossman talking about different things that I think we'll learn over the course of 162 that have kind of shown us, revealed themselves over the first week of the season or so, I don't think the Astros are ultimately going to be very good this year. I think that the Houston team that the Giants swept, while it was an important sweep for the Giants, it gave this team early momentum at the beginning of the season, and beating Framber Valdez the way they did on Wednesday with Landon Roop on the hill, that was a really impressive win. But I think that this Mariners team is going to be the class of the AL West this year, even though they're off to a bit of a slow start right now, still under 500. I love this Mariners rotation, and I don't like what the Astros have going on. Yordan Alvarez struggling at the plate right now. Jose Altuve trying to play some left field. That's not really working. You saw him give up an extra run with a misplay of a ball in left field when the Giants were in Houston earlier this week. The Astros lose 6-1 today to the Minnesota Twins. Jose Miranda went deep, 3-run homer for Minnesota. Spencer Arrighetti, top pitching prospect in the organization for Houston, he takes the loss in that one. And then the other game to tell you about from this afternoon, the Detroit Tigers won it 7-2 over the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox already 2-6, but hey, that's probably a better pace than the one that they were on a season ago when they broke the Major League record for losses in a single season. Yesterday's ball game for the Tigers, you saw their big outfielders. Kerry Carpenter, one of the great carries in all of sports. He hit 2 home runs, and Riley Green also homered in that one. Love the young talent in the outfield for those Detroit Tigers. Some other games to tell you about coming on later this evening. You've got the Angels against the Guardians down at the Big A in Anaheim. Tanner Beebe takes the ball for Cleveland. The Rockies playing host to the Athletics this evening in Coors Field. J.P. Sears on the hill for Oakland, and German Marquez feels like he's been in Colorado for the better part of a decade right now. He takes the ball for the Rockies, who are just 1-6 so far this season. Speaking of poor records, the Atlanta Braves got their first win of the season in yesterday's ball game over the Miami Marlins. They're back at it again this evening. Spencer Schwellenbach got the win for Atlanta in that ball game. And I want to come back to Schwellenbach in just a moment. He went 8 innings, giving up just 2 hits against that Marlins lineup. The Marlins off to a better start than you would have anticipated for a team that had no designs on making a playoff run this season. They're 4-4 right now, but I expect they'll come back to life. And Atlanta, 1-7, I expect that they will ultimately be around an 85-90 win team back in the NL East. The Milwaukee Brewers at it this evening. They're playing host to the Cincinnati Reds. Reds coming to town next week as they'll play 3 more against the San Francisco Giants. Brady Singer takes the ball for the Reds. The Giants will not see him next week at Oracle Park as they play games on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday before the Giants will be done with the Cincinnati Reds just 2 weeks into the season. Alexis Diaz still on that 15-day injured list. The Giants benefiting from that. The Reds snapped their scoreless streak yesterday. They'd gone 3 consecutive games losing 1-0, including one where Hunter Green was on the hill for Cincinnati. 2 tough luck losses for Green so far this season after he really dominated the Giants on opening day. Ian Jabot giving it up to Wilmer Flores and Patrick Bailey, as well as Bailey was the one who got the game-tying hit before Flores, as all of you know, delivered the crushing blow for the Giants back on Thursday the 27th at Great American Ballpark. And then the Mets this evening, they play host to the Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays out to a 5-3 start. The Mets 4-3. Juan Soto producing at the plate right now. Former Met Chris Bassett goes for Toronto. Former UCLA Bruin and Angel Griffin Canning on the mound for the Mets this evening. And then Bruce Bochy's Texas Rangers, they just got underway I was going to say at the ballpark in Arlington. It's Globe Life Field in Arlington. Jacob deGrom on the mound this evening for Bruce Bochy's Texas Rangers. They'll be in town in about 3 weeks. 3 weeks from today, you'll see Brandon Crawford being celebrated at Oracle Park. A big day for the Giants that they have planned. The Tampa Bay Rays playing the Rangers right now. Yandy Diaz at the plate against Jacob deGrom. And then, of course, the final game this evening, the late game on the West Coast. It starts at 6:05 Pacific, 9:05 Eastern time. So it's the last game of the evening. It's Bryce Miller for the Seattle Mariners against Robbie Ray of the San Francisco Giants. Any thoughts on the San Francisco Giants first week of the season? Please do dial in. 415-808 KNBR. I want to talk a bit about Robbie Ray so far and what we saw in his first start out, because he was so good for the first 5 innings against the Cincinnati Reds when he made his start against Cincinnati in that getaway day ball game that the Giants played. And then he started to lose it. It was the 5th inning, and Ray just didn't look like he had the same caliber of stuff that he did the first few innings out, where he held Cincinnati hitless. He held Cincinnati without a walk. Things just started to fall apart for him in that 6th inning. The Giants held a 4-0 lead headed into the 6th inning. Ray ultimately gives up 3 runs. He was charged with all 3 as he gave up 3 hits, including 2 home runs to Cincinnati hitters in that ball game. Also walked a batter. And then Bob Melvin goes to Eric Miller out of the bullpen. Miller was brilliant in relief. Lou Trevino comes on. Tyler Rogers, Camilo Doval, the same horses that you've seen for the Giants in relief throughout the first week of the regular season. Bob Melvin has had to use this bullpen a lot, but that afternoon in Cincinnati, Ray gave up home runs to Austin Wynns, the catcher, and Matt McClain, the second baseman, who's hitting in the leadoff spot that day. I think Matt McClain's going to be very, very good for the Cincinnati Reds this year. Ellie De La Cruz, of course, their big superstar in the middle of the infield, but McClain, one of the best second basemen in baseball, in my opinion. The Giants got by that day with Tyler Fitzgerald doubling, Jung-Hoo Lee doubling off of Nick Martinez, Elliot Ramos hitting his second home run in 3 games, and then Matt Chapman also the big home run off of Martinez as the Giants put 3 on the board in the 6th inning. They ultimately added that with 2 in the 8th inning against Cincinnati's bullpen that afternoon. It was Taylor Rogers who gave up those 2 runs unearned against the Giants as they pulled out a 6-3 win in Robbie Ray's first start of the year. So when Ray takes the ball this evening against the Seattle Mariners, he will do so against a team that he knows quite well. It was the team where he ultimately signed that 5-year, $150 million contract that he's on right now with the San Francisco Giants. Still a year plus left on that deal as he signed with the Giants through the 2026 season. He had to opt into that deal over the course of this offseason, so he will remain with the Giants for each of the next 2 years, 2025 and 2026. Last year, of course, coming off of Tommy John surgery, he didn't rejoin the Giants until after the All-Star break, when he threw just 30 2/3 innings, but we saw the strikeout numbers really pop. 43 strikeouts over that time frame. Didn't necessarily have the best stuff, as he did walk 15 guys in those 30 2/3 innings, but he did really show that he was able to get guys out with the fastball, with the breaking ball. And now this offseason, he's added the changeup that we all know from spring training. If you followed the Giants down in Cactus League play, Robbie Ray was toying with different changeup grips throughout his career. There was never really something that stuck with him. And then this offseason, out of the blue, he approached Tarek Skubal, the reigning American League Cy Young Award winner with the Detroit Tigers, and asked for the changeup grip that Skubal uses. He's a fellow left-hander. Skubal offered up the goods. Ray goes down to spring training, and the changeup looked great for Robbie Ray during spring training. It's an extra weapon for him against right-handed hitters. It's something that you'll see probably 10, 15, a maximum of about 18, 20 times a ball game. So it's not a pitch that he's going to throw all that frequently. But when you throw 95, 96 from the left side like Robbie Ray does, when you have the wipeout breaking ball that Robbie Ray does, a third weapon is really important for him. And I think that that can be an unlock. He didn't get any swings and misses with the pitch against Cincinnati Reds hitters, so that's something to watch today against the Seattle Mariners. How comfortable he is, how early he goes to it, because it was really fastball breaking ball early on for Ray against the Reds, and you want to see him use that pitch with confidence against the Seattle Mariners this evening out at Oracle Park. And then, of course, he will be opposed by Bryce Miller, who's really one of the best young pitchers in Major League Baseball. At the age of 25, just a season ago, Miller had a sub-3 ERA over 30 starts last year for Seattle. You put him in the same rotation as George Kirby and Brian Wu and Luis Castillo, of course, the veteran ace of that staff. He's just really good. He threw 180 1/3 innings last year, striking out 171 batters, only walked 45 over 180 1/3. So the strikeout to walk ratio was 3.80, which is pretty solid. The best pitchers in Major League Baseball who really dominate the strike zone, they'll be about 5.0 in terms of strikeout to walk ratio. So that's something to watch for Miller. The Giants might be able to try and get a few free passes this evening. Doesn't always have perfect command, but the stuff can be wipeout when he's at his best. Won 12 games a season ago, racking up a wins above replacement of 3.4, and he's expected to really take off this season for the Seattle Mariners, be a horse for this ball club, and someone who can be relied upon every fifth day as he was a season ago. Broke into the majors back in 2023 at the age of 24 years old, posted a 4.32 ERA that season over the course of 131 1/3 innings. Not going to strike out a really high volume of guys, not someone like Robbie Ray, who you're looking for about 10, 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. Bryce Miller really around 8, 8.5 per 9 innings, but he can get a few pitches by you, mixes speeds well, and he's someone to watch tonight, of course, because this Giants lineup scored 10 runs yesterday. You're going to have to grind out some low-scoring wins at home. Wouldn't shock me at all if both of these teams were playing a much more low-scoring ball game and resorting to small ball in the late innings tonight to try to gain an edge. The Giants going for their third consecutive series win of the season, taking 2 of 3 from Cincinnati, and then, of course, sweeping the Houston Astros after winning 10-9 in an instant classic over the Mariners on the home opener on Friday. They're back at it this evening, Matt Chapman bobblehead day. We'll talk more about these Giants hitters and what they need to do against Bryce Miller on the other side. I am Kerry Crowley. This show is Giants Warm-Up. You've got an open invitation. The phone lines are wide open right now. 415-808-KNBR is the number. If you were out at the ballpark yesterday, would love to hear from you. Your thoughts on the atmosphere. If the Giants can hold this attendance throughout the season, more than 40,000 strong out at Oracle Park, what you'd like to see from this lineup of the next few games as we get into this homestand against the Mariners and the Cincinnati Reds before the Giants hit the road next weekend in the Bronx against the New York Yankees. You're listening, KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.
Now back to the show built for the orange and black family. This is Giants Warm-Up on KNBR, the sports leader.
The 1-1 pitch. Swing, and there's a high drive into deep left center field. Way back there, still going. Goodbye! Well up into the bleachers. Matt Chapman with his second home run this year.
We're back here on Giants Warm-Up. Kerry Crowley getting you set for first pitch from Oracle Park this evening. It's Robbie Ray, the left-hander, against Bryce Miller, the young righty for the Seattle Mariners tonight. Bob Melvin put out his lineup earlier this afternoon. Lamont Wade Jr. leading off for the Giants, and we'll talk more about these Giants hitters momentarily. But first, a few more notes off of a 10-9 thriller on Friday afternoon at Oracle Park. The Giants improving to 6-1 on the season, showing all of the traits of a team that looks like it can exceed expectations this season. To do so, to be better than people think that you're going to be. And in this case, I think a lot of folks, national media, analysts around baseball, thought the Giants might be about 500. To be better than 500, you have to have a lot of things go your way, but you have to prove that you can win different types of ball games. You can't just be the team that wins pitcher's duels. You can't just be the team that wins slugfests. You've got to be the type of team that grinds out every at-bat, pitches competitively in the late innings, plays defense extremely well, plays fundamentally sound baseball, takes advantage of opportunities on the base pass. And look, the Giants didn't do everything perfectly on Friday afternoon. They went 6 for 28 with runners in scoring position. But I'll tell you, it felt like there were weeks last season where the Giants didn't get opportunities with runners in scoring position 28 times. They got 28 times in a game yesterday. They pounded out 18 hits in the win, and while defense was not their strong suit, Willy Adames he was peppered by the Seattle Mariners, a number of extremely hard-hit balls at Adames, and he couldn't come down with all of them, wasn't charged with an error yesterday, but Tyler Fitzgerald was on a ground ball up the middle that he really should have handled. Cal Raleigh hit it to him. The Giants were going to have an opportunity to have a play at the plate. Instead, looked like Fitzgerald took his eye off the baseball. It skids by him into the outfield and spells doom for Camilo Doval, who just did not hold runners on well. I mean, this has been a problem throughout Doval's career. When he's at his best, he's just lights out. Like, Camilo at his best can be an all-star closer. We saw that in 2023. We really saw that when he came up in 2021 as a rookie in September. I mean, the run that he went on to end the season is, for the Giants' 107-win ball club when he took over as the primary closer was sensational. You saw a pitcher who at his best could not be touched, and it was kind of then where you started to realize, okay, there's going to be a lot of 1, 2, 3 outings. But the issue for Doval, and we saw this again in yesterday's ball game, is when it doesn't go 1, 2, 3, when someone does get on base, things start to unravel and things get out of control, and he gets sped up sometimes with his delivery and isn't as consistent with his command, or he doesn't get sped up at all, and he's not worried about the pitch clock. He's not worried about violations, and he's certainly not worried about runners on base taking extra bases, and that has got to change for him. And so I think we saw yesterday why Doval is still more of an eighth-inning guy for the Giants, in some cases a fireman guy for the Giants, coming into dirty innings and trying to clean things up, because Ryan Walker just seems to have a better command of those ninth-inning situations right now. And Walker, of course, playing a very important role for the Giants at the end of last season and has started this season really well for San Francisco. Gave up the run on opening day against Cincinnati in that 6-4 win, but ultimately held on for the save, and he will continue to be the Giants' primary closer as long as that back holds up, because he holds runners on. He's better in those situations, still throws with the premium velocity. It's not 100, but it is 97, 98 with the crossfire delivery. That's extremely difficult to catch up to, and so the Giants are going to need a lot of relief help today. Bob Melvin just telling reporters in the dugout, I saw Justice De Los Santos of the Bay Area News Group tweet this out a few moments ago, that look, they'd wanted Hayden Birdsong when this season began to be kind of a piggyback guy, and the Giants had looked at maybe using Birdsong after Jordan Hicks in that first start against the Houston Astros as a piggyback guy, but Hicks ends up going 6 innings on 72 pitches. The Giants could just turn things over to their primary relievers. They could go Doval, Rogers, and Walker to close that ball game. They didn't need Birdsong to come in for a long outing. And then Wednesday, he comes on in relief of Landon Roop, and Roop, of course, gave way to Randy Rodriguez, who did another nice job of cleaning up a dirty inning. Rodriguez comes in Wednesday's ballgame, really settled things down for the Giants. Then with a clean inning, they turned things over to Hayden Birdsong. But instead of extending Birdsong to about 3-4 innings in that ballgame, which they could have done, the Giants took no chances, and they wanted their high leverage relievers in the game, so they went to Tyler Rogers for the 4th time on the road trip. They went to Ryan Walker at the end of that ballgame to close things out against those Astros, and it's one of the reasons why the Giants are off to this 6-1 start is they're taking no chances. In ball games where things are close, Bob Melvin is going to his best relievers very consistently, and it's why you'd love to see them just break a game open and allow Hayden Birdsong to throw 50 pitches or 60 pitches. But right now, Bob Melvin just told reporters in the dugout a few moments ago, according to Justice De Los Santos, that Hayden Birdsong could be a one-inning guy for the Giants moving forward. And I think, tonight against the Seattle Mariners, if Robbie Ray's out after 4 innings, you might need 2, you might need 3 from Hayden Birdsong, especially if he's able to be economical with that pitch count. But after building up to about 5 innings during spring training, he's built back down. He does not have that stamina because he's been skipped a few times in this bullpen, so that the Giants could use a guy like a Lou Trevino or Randy Rodriguez to pitch out of a dirty situation in the 6th or the 7th, as opposed to clean innings that have been started where the Giants had a big lead or were pitching with a deficit. Spencer Bivens has been the guy to come in with a deficit, and of course Bivens comes in the 10th and 11th innings in yesterday's ballgame, nearly blew it with the spike pitch past Sam Huff, but ultimately Bivens got the job done yesterday for the Giants. I think you take 2 extra inning frames where a runner starts on second base, you give up just 1 run in those 2 frames, an unearned run. Your team will take that, and Bivens was rewarded handsomely with the win. That was important for the Giants, and it set up Willy Adames to deliver with the game-winning single into right field that ultimately plated Tyler Fitzgerald, who was running hard on that play from second base. And I think that it was great that Adames got the walk-off for the Giants. He is going to be a face of the franchise for this team. Whether he's already a face of the franchise, I think that we could debate that right now. 415-808 KNBR is the number, but he is someone who's going to be a spokesperson for this team. After tough losses, when reporters have to go to someone in the clubhouse to get an answer, Adames is going to be one of the guys who speaks up, much like Buster Posey had to be that guy in San Francisco for so long. Brandon Crawford, Brandon Belt had to be that guy in San Francisco for so long. It's really going to be Adames and Chapman and Mike Yastrzemski, who's the longest tenured member of this Major League roster for the Giants. He's going to be someone. I saw a bunch of articles on opening day for the home opener where Yastrzemski was quoted about the changes inside the organization. I'll talk about that in just a moment, but very happy to see that it was Adames who came through for the Giants, particularly because it wasn't the cleanest day for him in the field. He's had some strikeout issues early on this season. He's been swinging at that slider, at that breaking ball in the left-handed batter's box. That's something he's got to clean up. But when Vargas threw him a breaking ball off of the plate in the 11th inning yesterday, Adames was able to put the barrel on it, make some contact, bloop one into right field, and the Giants ultimately went home happy. Matt Chapman talked post-game about what that meant to see Adames be the guy to deliver for the Giants in that situation. And here's what he said about the Giants shortstop coming through with the game on the line.
How appropriate. The guy grinded, and, we don't give up, and just seeing him fight, coming around the second time and getting the job done in the extra innings, it's awesome. Awesome to see. Maybe, it's not always easy getting to a new team and getting comfortable, so I'm hoping that's just the beginning.
Hoping that's just the beginning, and so are Giants fans. They want to see a lot more moments like that from Willy Adames, but I had the opportunity to be down in Scottsdale earlier this spring when the Giants were down there for Cactus League play. And the first day that I was down there, the Giants were taking on the Milwaukee Brewers at Scottsdale Stadium. Of course, Adames put together a really strong career in Milwaukee, was beloved in the clubhouse, extremely well liked by those fans in Milwaukee, won them over with his ability to come through in the clutch in so many different situations, was a spokesman for that organization as well. After tough losses, he was the guy to put it on his shoulders, take accountability, and that goes a long way with fans because you're the hero, but also over the course of 162, they're going to be tough days. The Giants aren't going to go 6-1 over 7 games every 7-game stretch this season. There's going to be times when they're 2-5, 3-4. You have to avoid the 1-6s if you want to go above 500 on the season. You want to make some noise, but they're going to be difficult moments, and Adames is going to have to speak after those. And I'm certain that if he didn't come through in that 11th inning situation, he would have been the one standing at his locker answering questions about a disappointing loss that got away from the Giants at their home opener. Instead, he comes through, he delivers, and he was able to talk about what went right for him, what this team was able to show. And so he also spoke post-game about kind of the approach that he had in that 11th inning situation. I think that this kind of speaks to the Giants' mentality with those runners in scoring position situations. And this is something that's different from the previous coaching staff, previous front office that was installed in San Francisco, kind of back when Farhan Zaidi hired Gabe Kapler as the manager prior to the 2020 season. So here's what Adames had to say about his 11th inning approach.
Yeah, I was just trying to go to the other way because I feel like I've been opened up a little bit too quick, and just to try to at least tie the game. And I ended up getting the hit, and we fortunately got the game winning hit right there. I'm just happy and feel a little exhausted, to be honest.
Little exhausted, and Giants fans were happy to see Willy Adames celebrating with his team over on the left side of the infield after really an instant classic, a 10-9 winner over the Seattle Mariners, moves the Giants to 6-1 and gives them the opportunity in this evening's ball game to win their third consecutive series to open the season. And this will be a big one with Robbie Ray going tonight. The Giants want to see him build upon his first outing where he was lights out for the first 5 innings, and then things really got away from him in that 6th inning against the Cincinnati Reds. If he's able to give the Giants 6 tonight against the Seattle Mariners lineup, that would go a long way towards setting up the bullpen for success for the remainder of this homestand. Major League Baseball builds in these off days early in the season so that relievers aren't being exhausted, so that pitchers who are built up to about 5 innings during spring training can get accustomed to throwing 6, 7 innings. But Robbie Ray is someone who's got to give the Giants a good start tonight, because otherwise the Giants and Buster Posey and Zach Manassian for the first time might have to get pretty creative with how they look at this pitching staff for the remainder of the homestand. You could have a situation where someone's optioned out. You could have a situation where if you don't get a deep start from Ray tonight and from Hicks tomorrow, you got to change relievers down in that bullpen. And that's probably the last thing the Giants want to do right now, because there's so many pitchers who played such a valuable role to this team's hot start. And the only guys with options down in that bullpen right now, Hayden Birdsong, one of them, Spencer Bivens, one of them, but you also want them on this Major League roster. You don't want to have to dig into your AAA depth this early in the season. It was something that we constantly saw with the roster churn of Farhan Zaidi, where, a guy goes long on one day, then they're calling up the reliever from AAA Sacramento the next day. The Giants, I think, with Buster Posey, want to prioritize stability and continuity in the clubhouse, and so far, they've been able to do that. Obviously, the injury to Gerard Encarnacion at the very end of spring training wasn't ideal, but it opened the door for Luis Matos, Casey Schmidt, and Christian Koss to all start the season on the bench for the Giants, and so far, they've not had to make any roster moves the first 7 games of this season, which is very important to setting the tone from a stability and continuity standpoint. So when we come back, a little more on the differences that you've seen in the approach from the San Francisco Giants at the plate. Pat Burrell, the Giants hitting coach, clearly making some tweaks this offseason with certain Giants players, and I'll get into that. But we'll also open up the phone lines. 415-808-KNBR is the number. If you were out at opening day on Friday, would love to hear from you. Your comments on the atmosphere. Take us through that roller coaster of a game. Anything you saw, anything you want to share from the Giants' 10-9 instant classic over the Seattle Mariners. Would love to hear from you. It's Giants Warm-Up. I'm your host, Kerry Crowley. We'll be taking you through all season long here on Saturdays and Sundays with our extended pregame show. More coming up next. You're listening to KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.
Giants fans, first pitch isn't too far away as KNBR's Giants warm-up continues on the sports leader.
Here's the pitch. Way outside. A fastball missing. And that was not even close. So he's run out of room in which to maneuver here. And there's nowhere to put him with the bases already loaded. Big pitch. 3-2 the count. Here it comes. Swing, and there's a ball down the right field line. It is falling in there. Base hit. Flores scores. Bailey scores. And the throw home is too late. To third, Fitzgerald on the double by Lamont Wade Jr.
We are back here on Giants warm-up. Kerry, Crowley getting you set for Giants baseball this evening. Coming your way, 6:05 from Oracle Park. It's Matt Chapman bobblehead night out at Oracle Park. Gold Glove bobblehead night, special edition. A lot of different players deserve their credit for the part that they played in Friday's win, including that highlight that you just heard, Lamont Wade Jr., a big day at the plate. Lamont got off to a rough start on the road trip. Was, I think, 0 for 16 to start the season. Sat down on Wednesday. The Giants went with Casey Schmidt over at first base against Framber Valdez, the tough left-hander for the Houston Astros. And I say tough left-hander. He's been really tough at the past few seasons. Really one of my favorite pitchers to watch, a ground ball machine. The Giants took it to him on Wednesday in Houston. Early and often, it was Wilmer Flores. It was Luis Matos with big home runs. Elliot Ramos had the 2-run double. And then late in that ball game, Lamont Wade Jr. came off the bench. I believe it was the 8th inning of that game where he came off the bench and socked a pinch hit home run out to right field. It was late afternoon Lamont in Houston, and he comes home on Friday and carries home that great swing that he had on Wednesday afternoon against the Astros. 3 hits in yesterday's ball game, couple of doubles, the triple as well. So give Lamont Wade Jr. 7 total bases and then added in a walk as well. So the average still sitting at 174, the OPS 678, but Giants confident that Wade will continue to turn things around, and he's back in there in the leadoff spot tonight against Bryce Miller, the tough young right-hander for the Seattle Mariners. And to give you a preview of what you can expect tonight for the Mariners, how about this for Bryce Miller? He's 26 years old, coming off of an outstanding season in which he compiled a 2.94 ERA across 31 starts. Here's how the guy gets the job done. 7 different pitches that he's comfortable throwing across his situations. And so you see the four-seam fastball about 40% of the time for Bryce Miller. At least in 2024 he did. I'll tell you what he did differently in his first start out of this season. So you see the four-seam fastball about 40% of the time. He threw the sinker 17% last year, so that's 2 different looks he gives you with the fastball. Then his splitter he also threw 17% of the time. He throws a sweeper across the strike zone, and then a more traditional slider. Throws each of those pitches about 8% of the time. And then, how's this? He mixes in a knuckle curve, threw it 123 times last season, according to StatCast, and he gave a third different look with the fastball, threw 63 cutters last year. And he throws the cutter in on the hands of left-handed hitters. So that's a pitch that you're going to see Logan Webb throw a lot of this year. It's something that Webb was tinkering with down in spring training because he's been so heavy with the sinker, and it's just, you need a different look. If you're going right-hander against left-hander, you need a different look, something that can cut in on their hands. So the cutter's the pitch that Bryce Miller will go to in those situations. But for all of that work that he did in 2024, Miller came out with a different approach in his first start of the season this year for the Seattle Mariners. And I think that it's worth looking back at his start against the Athletics, where he went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, including a home run allowed and a 4-2 loss to the Mariners up at T-Mobile Park back on March 29th. He ends up throwing that four-seam fastball, which he threw 42% of the time last year, just 23% of the pitches that he threw against the A's. He used the sinker more often against the Athletics. He threw it 29% of the time. The knuckle curve, which was not his primary off-speed pitch last year. It was slider, it was sweeper. He threw the knuckle curve 21% of the time. So he threw 19 knuckle curves in his first start of the season compared to last year where he threw just 123 across 31 starts. So he's kind of turned into a different pitcher. If you're at least to believe the numbers from his first start out against the Athletics, he wants to sink it and throw the four-seamer a little bit less, and he wants to throw the curveball more than he does the slider and the sweeper. He threw just 2 sweepers against the A's the last time out, which is a pitch he threw 234 times last season. So to put all this in perspective, the four-seamer he threw 1,156 times, the sinker 476. The splitter, 469. He only threw the splitter 10 times in his first time out. So just 11% of the time against the Athletics in that first start out. And I know that I'm getting way deep into numbers, but that's all of a way of saying that Bryce Miller, for as good as he was a season ago, he's trying to reinvent himself right now. And he might do so tonight. He might come out and throw more sinkers. If that's the case, Giants righties and lefties have to be prepared for a different version of a pitcher than the one who dominated Major League hitters just last year in his age 25 season. As for Robbie Ray, the Giants starter going tonight, the four-seam fastball is what he's going to rely on more so than any other pitch. He throws it more than half of the pitches. He throws it a lot against right-handers. Doesn't use it as much against lefties, but still comfortable throwing that pitch against lefties. And he got 3 strikeouts with the four-seamer. He'd run it up to about 95, 96. In his first start out, you saw a few more 92 and 93s than you're probably accustomed to seeing from Robbie Ray, but he dialed it back just a bit, and he lost velocity over the course of that bowl game against the Cincinnati Reds. So look to see if Robbie Ray can stick with the velocity against the Seattle Mariners this evening out at Oracle Park. He used the slider a lot, threw 20 sliders in the first start out for the San Francisco Giants. Also picked up a strikeout with that pitch. And then the changeup he threw 10 times. And he threw that changeup just to right-handed batters. So Ray, again, a left-handed pitcher, threw the changeup just to righties. It's a different look that he's mixed in this year. In the past, he's been four-seamer, he's been slider, and then a little bit of a knuckle curve. He's used a changeup at various points of his career, but as he told Giants beat reporters during spring training, he just never really had a grip for a great changeup. Never really felt comfortable trusting that pitch in a 3-2 situation. And I heard Mike Krukow on a Giants broadcast earlier this week when Landon Roop was on the mound against the Houston Astros, and he was saying, for a pitcher to say that they've got a pitch, for you to say, hey, I throw a curveball or I throw a cutter, you have to be able to trust that pitch in a 3-2, 2-out, ninth-inning situation with the game on the line. And Krukow said, otherwise, you don't really have that pitch. And I think throughout Ray's career, he hasn't really had the changeup. Even last year with the San Francisco Giants, in his 7 starts, he ditched the changeup altogether. It was a pitch that he used a few times in 2021 when he won a Cy Young Award with the Toronto Blue Jays before signing that big 5-year, $150 million contract with the Seattle Mariners. But for the most part, he was four-seamer, he was slider, and then you'd see a couple of knuckle curves mixed in over the course of a game. But this year, it was four-seamer, slider, changeup the first time out, and he only threw 1 knuckle curve against the Cincinnati Reds his first time out. So that's a difference for Robbie Ray this year. You're going to see the changeup more, you're going to see the curveball less, and I love the slider that Ray uses. I think it's really one of the more fun breaking pitches that any Giants pitcher has, and we'll see that a lot tonight against these Seattle Mariner hitters. So one thing that I did want to touch on before we give you the lineups and look around Major League Baseball for some updated scores around the league is Willy Adames' post-game comment. Kyle, this is going to be cut V there on our cut sheet. This is what Willy Adames, the Giants shortstop, had to say about this Giants team's resilience through its first 7 games of the season, the identity that they've developed for itself, and what you've really seen and can become accustomed to seeing from this Giants team over the course of this 2025 season. Here's Adames, the walk-off hero, sizing up his team through a week of games this season.
Willie, Justin was talking about how this team may have been overlooked during spring training. In the time that you've been here, what have you seen out of this team and the guys in here that leads you to believe that there's a true contender with this team?
They're a bunch of dogs, man. They're going to go out there and fight and try to, beat the other team. And, we showed it today. We never give up. We were battling, punching back, and that's what that's what I've seen so far from the group of guys that we have in here.
Bunch of dogs, and that's a great call. And I think you've seen that through the first 7 games. The resilience that this team has shown, the ability to claw back in the late innings, I think could become a hallmark of this Giants team. And one of the most important things that this Giants 2025 squad can do is differentiate itself from 22, 23, and 24, when the Giants failed to build off the momentum of a 107-win season. And to me, they really lacked an identity, and they lacked traits that every Giants fan could say, well, when we think about our team, we think about this. For 2010, 2012, and 2014, you were always able to think about the great bullpens. The Giants always had a great bullpen. And yes, the closers switched in each of those seasons. In 10, it was, Buster Posey. In 10, it was Brian Wilson throwing to Buster Posey. In 12, it was Sergio Romo throwing to Buster Posey. In 14, you saw Casilla take over as a closer. And of course, in 2014, you saw Madison Bumgarner get the final out of the World Series against the Kansas City Royals. But you were always able to count on the Giants having a really tough bullpen. And in those seasons, getting the timely hits when they needed to and playing really solid defense. Like 12 and 14, yeah, Brandon Crawford, one of the best to do it at the shortstop position, just elite in terms of the defense that he provided the San Francisco Giants. You had Posey behind the plate, who's one of the game's best catchers. He and Yadier Molina always neck and neck for the Gold Glove Award. Brandon Belt over at first base, probably one of the more underrated first basemen defensively during his tenure in San Francisco. Joe Panik provided the Giants with solid defense at second base. The outfield left a little bit to be desired in terms of those seasons, but it's a team that got a lot of ground balls with its pitching staff, with Lincecum and Kane and Bumgarner, and then in 14 with Peavy and Hudson. Giants got a ton of ground balls, and they had to play clean defense on the infield. They were able to do that. This year, I think you're starting to see a team that's going to play solid defense, and it wasn't there all the way in Friday's bowl game against the Seattle Mariners. Of course, Tyler Fitzgerald making the big miscue, the big gaffe that cost the Giants and Camilo Doval some runs, and Doval wasn't great holding runners on, but I do think that one of the things that you're going to see from this team is the bullpen is going to establish itself, and for the most part has established itself through the first week of the season as one of the best in Major League Baseball. I don't like to make big picture judgments until you get about a quarter of the way through the year, until you're about at least halfway through May, 40 games into the season. Then you can say, okay, this is a team that's got a clear identity. This is a team that on certain days is going to give you great starting pitching, or you're going to be able to rely on the back three in the bullpen to go 7, 8, and 9, and things are going to look clean. Or you're going to be able to rely on big power hitters in the middle of the order, as the Giants were able to do in the early 2000s when you had Kent and Bonds and Snow and Aurelia. You could really rely on those guys to mash for the San Francisco Giants, whether Dusty Baker was managing the team from 2000 to 2002 out at Oracle Park, back then Pac Bell Park, or if it was Felipe Alou, his first few years, the Giants still had some great middle-of-the-order bats. And then, of course, transitioning over to the Kane, Lincecum, Bumgarner era, it was starting pitching, it was bullpen, it was great defense that the Giants got by with and just enough timely hitting. I think this year's team, you're going to need a little bit more starting pitching to be able to say that that's a key part of this team's identity. Logan Webb obviously provides you kind of a true ace at the front end of the rotation, someone who gives you 200 innings over the course of a regular season, the last of his kind in Major League Baseball, as far as I'm concerned. But the bullpen's going to be big, and playing clean defense, grinding it out in the late innings with the at-bats, I think those are going to become hallmarks of this Giants team if it's going to go anywhere and build off this 6-1 start and continue to make some noise. So I am Kerry Crowley. The show is Giants Warm-Up. Your pregame show coming to you shortly. Right around 5:05 is when things will begin. Our festivities will kick off with this day in Giants history. We'll go in the booth chatting with Giants broadcasters. You'll have Around the Park. And then the conversation with Bob Melvin, Giants manager, as you get set for the second game of 81 out at Oracle Park this season. The Giants are 6-1, sending Robbie Ray to the hill, trying to win their third consecutive series to open things up. When we come back, we'll give you the lineup. We'll look at scores around Major League Baseball, and we will do a lot more as we continue here on Giants Warm-Up. If you have any phone calls that you want to get off and share your thoughts and commentary on opening day out at Oracle Park, how the Giants handled those festivities, would love to hear from you as well. The phone lines are open. 415-808 KNBR is the number. I am Kerry Crowley. You're listening to KNBR, the sports leader.
Our KNBR Giants warm-up keeps rolling on the sports leader.
Here's the pitch. Tellez lines one to first, and it's caught by Wade. Lamont snags it. That ball was hit hard, but Rodriguez, you got to give him credit, came in with the bases loaded, throwing strikes, and he limits the damage. The Mariners get the 2, but only the 2, and the game stays tied.
We are back here on Giants Warm-Up. Kerry, Crowley hanging out with you until the start of our Giants pregame show. We'll get underway in about 12, 13 minutes here as we get you set for Giants baseball. First pitch from Oracle Park coming your way at 6:05 p.m. Pacific time this evening. It's Robbie Ray who'll be throwing it for the San Francisco Giants up against Bryce Miller, the young right-hander coming off of a great season last year. 31 starts, 180-plus innings, and a sub-3 ERA. But I mentioned in the last segment, he's a little bit different this year, trying to throw the sinker more, mixing in the curveball more than the sweeper and the slider. So we will see if that holds true for Miller against the San Francisco Giants. Here's the lineup that Giants manager Bob Melvin has put out for this evening's ballgame. Lamont Wade Jr. leading things off and playing first base after the 3-hit game on Friday afternoon. 2 doubles and a triple for Wade, as well as a walk. So he reached base 4 times, set the tone at the top of the order, and that's what the Giants have come to expect. Wade, one of a handful of Giants players on this roster who is a teammate of President of Baseball Operations Buster Posey. And I find that interesting. I think that Posey made a concerted effort this offseason to keep the guys who were his teammates. Wilmer Flores, Mike Yastrzemski, Logan Webb, of course, was never moving anywhere. But Wade, Yastrzemski, Flores, all could have been traded this offseason. The Giants decided, hey, we're going to renew them. We're going to keep them. We're going to see what we can get out of them for the 2025 season. So Wade leads things off. He plays first base. And then it's Willy Adames, walk-off hero on Friday afternoon. He'll bat in the second slot in the order, and he's the shortstop this evening. Just a 200 average so far for Adames, but 6 runs driven in through the first 7 games of the season. A 509 OPS right now for the Giants. That number expected to tick way up as you get through and get a much larger sample size. Jung-Hoo Lee hitting third for the Giants tonight. The left-hander goes in the 3 spot in the order. 3 runs driven in, 2 stolen bases for Lee, who's hitting 250 on the young season. A 708 OPS right now for the Giants center fielder. It's Matt Chapman in the cleanup spot tonight. He's playing third base. The bobblehead man. It's Gold Glove Matt Chapman bobblehead night out at Oracle Park. 280 average, 939 OPS for Chapman, who has 2 home runs and 6 runs driven in, as well as a stolen base through his first 7 games on the season. Elliot Ramos, the Giants providing thump in the middle of the order. He'll bat 5th and play left field. Ramos with 3 home runs, 8 driven in, 2 stolen bases. How about this? A 323 average and a 1.054 OPS right now. In the 6th slot in the order, it's Mike Yastrzemski. He'll play right field out there tonight for the Giants. A 300 average, 691 OPS right now. So, still looking to get on the board with his first home run of the season. Wouldn't be shocked if he does it tonight against Miller, the right-hander. Wilmer Flores bats 7th. He's got 4 homers, hit them all on the road trip. 10 runs driven in. That's an unsustainable pace, but hey, the Giants needed it in Cincinnati and Houston. 214 average, 5 hits, 4 of them home runs, of course, for Flores. So a 910 OPS. Sam Huff doing the catching tonight. He'll bat in the 8th slot in the order. You're going to see Sam Huff catch Robbie Ray a lot this season. The Giants going to look to use Ray as the guy who goes with the backup catcher so that Patrick Bailey can be situated with Jordan Hicks. And I'll touch on that in a few moments, why I think it's important for Bailey to work with Jordan Hicks this season. But Huff's still looking for his first hit of this season. Then Tyler Fitzgerald down in the 9 slot in the order, playing second base for the Giants. Coming off of scoring the game-winning run in Friday's ball game, came around and slid home, ran through the stop sign that Matt Williams set over at third base, but that was important as Fitzgerald knew that might have been the Giants' only chance to win that ball game, getting a hit in the late innings. Of course, they'd already scored the tying run, but you can't take any chances when it gets to the 10th, 11th, 12th inning, and you start an inning with a runner on second base. Giants had exhausted their bullpen. Spencer Bivens had already gone 2 frames, so he'll likely be down tonight. Fitzgerald, a 190 average, a 499 OPS on the season. He is your starting second baseman. Out there for the Seattle Mariners this evening, it's Victor Robles playing right field and leading things off. 229 average, 557 OPS for Robles, who's driven in 3 runs and stolen a bag on the young season. Julio Rodriguez bats second, the center fielder. We saw that mammoth power show up on Friday afternoon as he knocked one into the right field seats. Wasn't even the clean arcade. It was right center field where Julio Rodriguez went deep to, which is one of the most difficult ballparks to go deep to if you're a right-handed hitter, one of those difficult parts of the ballpark to go deep to if you're a righty or a lefty. And Rodriguez made it look easy against Justin Verlander in the first inning of Friday's ball game. Opened the scoring with that home run, his second of the season. He's also got 4 runs driven in and 3 stolen bases, a 953 OPS on the young season for the Mariners, number 2 hitter. Cal Raleigh, the designated hitter tonight. Of course, Raleigh signed the big 9-figure extension with Seattle last week during the first few days of the regular season. He's the DH tonight, switch hitter, of course, great hitter, and he's just at 143 on the season with a 544 OPS, but Raleigh can do damage against any pitcher, any count, any situation. The cleanup man for Seattle tonight, Randy Arozarena. He's out in left field, 2 homers, 3 runs driven in, but just a 143 average, 723 OPS on the young year for Arozarena. Mitch Garver, the backup catcher for Seattle, he gets the call, and he'll bat in the 5th slot tonight for the Mariners. Garver, an 083 average, 237 OPS, so some limited opportunities for Garver, and he'll look to get going tonight. Over at first base tonight for the Seattle Mariners, it's old friend Donovan Solano. How about Solano in his age 37 season, playing some first base for the Mariners, yet to get on the board with a hit this year, but anyone who watched Solano's days in a Giants uniform knows Donnie Barrel's able to come through and find the baseball with that barrel. Dylan Moore will hit 7th for Seattle tonight, and he'll play the hot corner over at third base. 364 average, 1.135 OPS on the young season for Dylan Moore. Limited opportunities, 1 homer, one run batted in, and 1 stolen base as well. Ryan Bliss will hit 8th and play second base for Seattle. Didn't have such a great day defensively yesterday for the Mariners. 136 average and just a 376 OPS on the season for Bliss. And then it's J.P. Crawford down at the bottom of the order for Seattle tonight. He's the shortstop. Great glove in the field, but the bat has yet to come around at the beginning of the season, also hitting 136 on the young year. So Seattle only has 1 player in its starting lineup through the first 7 games of the season with an average above 300. That's Dylan Moore, who's down in the 7th slot tonight. By comparison, the Giants, of course, have Elliot Ramos and Mike Yastrzemski up at 300 or above right now. Matt Chapman with an OPS in the 900s. And I've loved what I've seen from Jung-Hoo Lee, even though it's just a 250 average, a 708 OPS. I think if he can get the launch angle thing straightened out, stop hitting the ball on the ground so much, more line drives, you're going to see Lee really come into his own and become a doubles machine for the San Francisco Giants. So with that, those are the lineups that you'll see. We've gone through the pitching matchup with Bryce Miller for Seattle and Robbie Ray for the San Francisco Giants. What I want to do right now, take a spin around Major League Baseball. Look at the scores from around the game today. Texas Rangers up 4-1 right now at Globe Life Field in Arlington over the Tampa Bay Rays. Jacob deGrom threw 3 innings, 5 hits allowed, 3 strikeouts, no walks for deGrom against those Tampa Bay Rays. Bruce Bochy's team excited to see if deGrom can claim back that velocity that made him one of the most feared pitchers in Major League Baseball when he was with the New York Mets. Has obviously battled some significant injuries over the last few years, but his ceiling is good as any pitcher in baseball when he gets it going. Bottom of the 3rd inning in Queens this evening, where the New York Mets are taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Scoreless in that ballgame. It's Chris Bassett on the hill, former Oakland Athletic, former New York Met, facing his old team, pitching for Toronto, which is off to a 5-3 start this season. The Mets, meanwhile, 4-3 in 2nd place behind the Phillies in the NL East. In Milwaukee right now, it's 4-0 Cincinnati Reds. The Reds, of course, have struggled to score. It's amazing they've got 4 across so far in the 4th inning. They just went lifeless on offense this week, but they're up 4-0 over the Milwaukee Brewers right now. 5 hits in that ballgame. Christian Encarnacion Strand at the plate right now. Elvin Rodriguez, the starting pitcher for Milwaukee tonight. The Brewers sitting at 4-4 on the year. The Reds at 2-6 right now. If one of their wins came against the Giants, and then it's been downhill ever since then. They lost 3 games by a score of 1-0 this week. Early score in Atlanta right now. The Marlins off to a 2-0 lead over the Atlanta Braves. The Braves went 0-7 on their West Coast swing, losing 4 against the Padres, 3 against the Dodgers. They had Jurickson Profar, their big off-season signing, 3 years, $40+ million. He got popped for PED suspension, so he's out for the next 80 games. They've had some injuries early on. The Braves just a mess right now. They did pick up their first win of the season in last night's ball game over the Marlins, but Cal Quantrill on the hill for Miami right now. Michael Harris II at the plate. He's already doubled in tonight's ball game, so Atlanta looking to get something going. A few final scores from around Major League Baseball earlier this afternoon. The Detroit Tigers took it 7-2 over the Chicago White Sox. Kerry Carpenter with a big 2-run home run for Detroit. He also went deep twice in Friday's ball game for Detroit. Olsen got the win. Martin taking the loss for the White Sox in that one. The Minnesota Twins won 6-1 today. They've improved to 3-5 on the season. The Twins got off to a terrible start, swept in St. Louis by the Cardinals, but they've rebounded with a few wins, including taking down the Astros today, 6-1. Jose Miranda hit a big 3-run home run in that one. Sands got the win in relief for the Twins. Spencer Arrighetti, the rookie starter for the Astros, took the loss. He's 1-1 now with a 5.59 ERA. The Chicago Cubs won at 7-1 over the San Diego Padres. The Cubs have taken 2 in a row over the Padres to start that series at Wrigley Field. Cubs 7-4. Remember, they started the season with back-to-back losses in Japan against the Dodgers, but they've improved. They've rebounded since then. Carson Kelly hit a big 3-run home run in that one. Matthew Boyd, forever Giant. Can we say that? Matthew Boyd, he took the win. Nick Pivetta saddled with the loss for San Diego, which falls to 7-2. They were perfect during their homestand, but the Padres, since hitting the road, have struggled against the Chicago Cubs. Another National League West score to give you: the Arizona Diamondbacks fall 4-3 today to the Washington Nationals. It was Parker with the win for Washington. Eduardo Rodriguez saddled with the loss. Kyle Finnegan picks up save number 2 for the Nationals, who are now 2-6 on the season. The Diamondbacks fall to 5-4, one of 4 National League West squads above 500 this early in the season. The Dodgers improved to 9-1 after suffering their first loss of the year in last night's ball game, and they made it close. Tommy Edman hit a late home run to bring that ball game to within 1 run, but the Phillies ultimately held on. Jesus Luzardo had a brilliant start last night. Dodgers win at 3-1 today. Anthony Banda picks up the win in relief today. Aaron Nola takes the loss, and Tanner Scott gets save number 3 for the Dodgers. It was Kike Hernandez hitting the 2-run home run that ultimately proved the difference for LA. The New York Yankees win at 10-4 over the Pittsburgh Pirates out at PNC Park. Aaron Judge went deep yesterday. Trent Grisham had a pair of home runs today for the Yankees. You know things aren't going your way when Trent Grisham hits 2 home runs against you. I remember 2020 season when you had that crazy scenario at the end of the year where the Giants were hosting the Padres at Oracle Park, but the Padres were the home team. The Giants needed to win to try to get in the playoffs. They expanded playoff format. Anyway, Trent Grisham hit a walk-off home run for the Padres at Oracle Park, one of the craziest games I've ever seen in person. But I was one of the few people to see that one in person because there were no fans allowed in attendance. And the other score to give you, the Orioles won it 8-1 over the Kansas City Royals. It was Sagano with the win, Michael Wacha taking the loss, and Tyler O'Neill had a bases-clearing triple for Baltimore in that ball game. Coming up next, it's the start of your Giants pregame show. We're just about an hour from first pitch out at Oracle Park. Robbie Ray will throw it. We're going to throw it to this day in Giants history shortly. I am Kerry Crowley. Giants warm-up is over. Giants pregame show about to begin here on KNBR 104.5 680, the sports leader.